I'm Sarah Lacey.
And I am Paul Carr.
You
That's
sound
me!
reluctant about that.
Paul Carr, right here. What are you eating, Sarah?
I'm eating leftover Indian food.
Sounds excellent.
Glamorous life of a entrepreneur. Your apartment looks very festive.
You've called it at a particularly festive time. There's a tree. There's also the scribble dog with a hat and a Merry Christmas thing. This is our Christmas corner. Mark Ames is in town, and we have a sort of writer's dorm at the other end of the hallway. I've told him he has to make that place as Jewish as possible for Hanukkah, so that we have balance. So this is Christianity corner right here.
Because you are, if anyone knows anything about you, so intensely religious.
Man, I mean, it's amazing you caught me in between, self-flagellation and church. Now, tell me, Sarah, how are you?
I've had an annoying day.
Have you? I don't know anything about it. Why didn't you tell me?
No, I just had a big fight this morning
Oh.
over an embargo, and I've wasted another, 4 hours of my life now fighting about embargoes. And, I think the specifics of the situation have sort of been dealt with privately, and we've kind of changed our policy, on how we are going to work with the firm in question. So I don't necessarily want to get into another one of these. PR people are all bad, blah, 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 because actually, in this case, as annoyed as I am, I probably would have done the same thing as the PR firm did. I mean, I think that they were, trying, they're...
If you were a PR person.
Yeah, in their place, yeah. I mean, their duty is to their client, but my duty is to my readers and my reporters. And so it's like, it just... I think what's so annoying is every argument that I keep having, and I'm sure I'm not alone, with the PR people is over, and everyone's like, well, yeah, I mean, embargoes suck. Everyone hates them. And it's like, again, some of the smartest people in the world are working in this industry, not PR necessarily, but in the Valley and
right.
With startups and all of this. And it's like, why do we all just keep saying this is a shitty situation we shouldn't do anymore, but everyone's doing it? And it's everyone's culpable.
Well, there's a number of things to unpack there. I'll start by saying that I can't remember the name of the PR company in question, but when I looked them up, when you mentioned them on Yammer earlier, they sound like a brand of orange juice. They don't sound like a real PR company. So I think, first of all, I would just...
legitimate firm. No, they're a very, very good legitimate firm.
I would just double check that you aren't actually arguing with a brand of orange juice, because that would explain part of the frustration, why you're not getting the response you expected, and you are getting a large amount of vitamin C. Second of all, I think, given that you're such a raving bitch to PR people, it's surprising when there's a situation where I think you've been above and beyond decent in this situation. And again, not to get into the specifics, but from what you've told me about it all, I think you've been above and beyond decent to them. But yeah, there comes a point where it just seems to be a constant, as you say, a constant bugbear of both sides, this whole embargo thing. And
it's three sides, because this doesn't help.
Well, the entrepreneur's in the middle. Yeah, I mean, well, it's a bit like having an agent. Like having a PR person is a bit like having an agent, which I suppose is why it's called a PR agency. But the entrepreneur has to trust the PR person that they're doing the best thing. And I'm not going to beat up on PR people either, because I actually, literally some of my best friends are PR people, but also...
And literally the person I've been screaming at all day, one of the best people in the industry. I mean, it's this is not a PR people are incompetent thing.
Not all PR people are incompetent. Let's acknowledge that some are.
Yeah, tell me a profession where there's not some incompetent people.
Clowning. It's impossible. Even the worse you are at it, the more competent you are. It's an incredibly foolproof, ironically, profession. But I take your broader point, moving away from clowning, and I like the fact that with every different bit of the conversation, you're eating a different Indian food.
You live in San Francisco. Zante's Indians vegetable samosas are the best thing you'll ever eat in your life.
Sarah's been wanting to mention that fact for 2 issues of episodes of Why Isn't This News, but there was an embargo that prevented her from sharing the fact that they're excellent. Embargoes are this...
Are they not delicious?
Yes. Embargoes are this weird... remind me, I want to talk about Farhad Manjoo and the hoodie in a minute.
Okay.
But embargoes are this weird thing where I get that when you're writing about products and services, particularly products that are launching in, say, an app store where they are not physically available before a certain time, I understand the value of embargoes in that regard. But they are fucking weird to say to a journalist. And I'm not saying this is a PR problem with PR people. I'm saying it's an odd phenomenon that basically it's somebody saying, here is a piece of news which is news. It's news now. Like, the news exists. The fact that this product is being launched is news. The news is happening this second inherently. But we're only going to tell you the news if you agree not to share the news with your reader until a certain point. And this whole system has grown up around that. Because if you don't agree to embargoes, which is what Mike did this whole thing where at TechCrunch, I don't agree to embargoes. And the trouble is, you then end up in this horrible position where the whole purpose of an embargo from a journalist's point of view is to give you enough time to write the story. Because if you just call up a journalist and say, we're launching this thing this second, no embargoes, we're launching this thing this second, then the journalist is going to write total shit about it. You're going to end up with half-formed...
Right.
It's what, so reviews have always had embargoes. But because of blogging and partly because some blogs just don't stick to the rules, but also because people queue stuff on WordPress, and we talked about, you mentioned earlier, before the show, the problem with having a 3 a.m. embargo is that all it means is every journalist, they just put it in WordPress queued up to go, and WordPress fucks up, or WordPress on a different time zone as you are, or whatever else, but everyone's asleep, so something will go out, and it's about only 4 hours later that you realise the embargo is broken. So I don't know that there's an answer to this, because if we say let's not have embargoes anymore, or let's not write about things in embargoes, then you're basically encouraging people to do shitty work, because
or you're hurting your readers.
Or you're hurting readers.
This is the other thing that TechCrunch is like. There were always like waves in this no embargo policy, and the time I was there, it was never really strictly health policy.
Yeah.
But that having been said, if we're really going to say we'll never do embargoes, there's certain significant news that happens. Let's say like an acquisition.
Yeah.
Where they're just not going to give it to someone exclusively. Doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of news that just will not be doled out exclusively. And, I think the majority of what we do should be actually breaking stuff. I tend to write about 15 stories a week. I usually do 2 embargoes.
Yeah.
It's by no means like the majority of what I do. And, we do a far smaller percentage as a site overall. So, but there are stories that are just really fun to write, or you really like this company, or you really have an angle someone else, doesn't have. So I'm not going to say that, I'm never going to do them.
My inclination is to say...
It doesn't help the startup, because when you spread something so widely that people get, 10 Twitter notifications with the same rewritten headline, because everyone's trying to get on Tech Meme, and they all get it at the same time, no one clicks on any of it.
Yeah.
And it hurts them. So it's like, what I don't understand is why PR people at least don't try to meet somewhere in the middle and say, okay, we want to go with like a big mainstream publication. So we're like, we want to get a lot of consumers. So we're giving this story to the New York Times.
Yeah.
But here's this really interesting funding angle or developer angle or something that's much more fits with our audience.
Yeah.
And we'll give you the blog exclusive or whatever. I don't think we try to be unreasonable about this, but it's when you're giving it to 10 different tech blogs, point to me the readers who each only read one tech blog.
Yeah.
What is the point of that? That just hurts everybody. And it's that's where it's lazy.
I can tell you what the point of it is.
Just want to check off boxes.
Right. Well, I can tell you what the point of it is. The point of it is, and this speaks to a more fundamental problem with the PR industry, is the point of it is every month the PR company sends a report to their clients saying where they got coverage. No, and this is where Brooke Hammerling texts me and says, we don't do that. You know, not every PR company does that. And I get that. But the majority of PR companies, and I speak as someone who has employed PR companies as well as dealt with them, send a report regularly to their clients where they will list, to prove that they're worth the money you're paying them, they will list all the different publications they got coverage on. And so this system helps that, because they get to say, we were on TechCrunch and VentureBeat and Pando and blah, blah, blah. And even though there's a gulf of difference between even just those three publications, it becomes a numbers game. And I think that's unfortunate. I think when it comes to product launches and when it comes to announcements, that aren't news in that, you know, there's that old saying of, you know, news is something that somebody else doesn't want you to know, everything else is advertising. I mean, I'm not quite that extreme on it. But when it comes to the stuff that companies do want you to know, they're launching something new, they're doing funding or whatever else, I think let me rephrase that. I think there are certain stories where respecting embargoes is appropriate. And I think basically it's ones when a product that is going to require some time with it and some real digging below the surface is being launched or is being announced. I think an embargo is entirely appropriate then. I think it helps everyone. I think the reporter gets more time with it. I think the client gets the entrepreneur gets a better review. I think though, when it comes to just a regular story, there is really no need for embargoes. Like, it just seems, PR people tend to get, in my experience, they love embargoes so much. They love to be just in charge of controlling everything. And I think we've seen today that occasionally they overreach on their attempts to control and to tell you, you know, and to tell you.
Look, this is the thing. You know, lest we get too harsh on PR people, bloggers are really the ones who created this situation, because they've gone along with this for a really long time. Yeah. And there are blogs who are happy to. I mean, for us, you know, we've had a lot of internal angst about this, but we're really talking about like maybe 10 to 30% of our output, depending on the writer.
Right.
So it's like, we still have a blog, even if we were to like blanket say we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, there are blogs where their entire thing is based on embargoes, and it's like, you know, when that's what you're doing, you know, you basically put the industry and your publication in this bind.
Yeah.
And, you know, particularly when you get to the levels of like, you know, some of the more egregious stuff we see where people saying, you know, basically sending us something and saying, can you run this under your byline? And like, other blogs do it. Other blogs do it though, where people wouldn't send this stuff out, you know? And it's like, and then, you know, are people like really like dictating like what, you know, how we should do our job? And it's like, hey, it's gotten like this because journalists have allowed it. And like, if I'm paying a PR person to like, I don't do this, but if I were paying a PR person to get press about us, like, and someone was willing to like print like whatever the fuck we want under their byline, like, I'd ask them to do that too.
I've argued
it's really journalists' fault to a very large degree.
I argued
them pushing their luck, and we're supposed to be the ones who have like ethics and the reader in mind and say no.
I argued this when TechCrunch wrote that weird thing saying how they were outraged that some PR company was being rewarded with cash bonuses for getting certain TechCrunch reporters to write about them.
Who cares?
And it's like, that's kind of a PR company's job. Like, I'm very happy.
It's not always that transactional, but yeah.
And likewise, I have no real issue. I mean, I think it's dumb because we'll call them out and embarrass them, but I have no ethical issue with a journalist saying to me, if I send you something, will you put it under my byline? They don't have ethics to stand by. It's the ethics are on my side to say, are you fucking kidding me? And of course you then kind of want to tell the world they tried to do this because the horrible thing is, there are, as you say, there are blogs who will do what they ask. So you kind of need to publicize that kind of stuff in order that when other blogs do it, everyone knows that that's what's going on. But there's not really that. I mean, there's nothing really that a PR person can ask in terms of controlling a story that is unethical. It's their job to do it. They are the promotional arm of a company. It is the journalist's job to say, go fuck yourself. And yeah, well, anyway.
And that's why it's like I'm not getting into a big thing.
It's
of,
an evolving thing.
You know,
like,
spending this time like trashing like, you know, a particular firm or whatever. Because it's like, I think by and large they're doing their job. I think it's like, you know, and I'm doing mine by saying, all right, we're not taking embargoes from you anymore. You know?
So I think that's
handled privately in the appropriate way it needs to be handled.
I think I would say though, if you're an entrepreneur, I would say if this is a good example of why entrepreneurs should pay very close attention to what their PR companies are doing. And it's not an argument for saying you shouldn't have a PR company. I think PR companies can do can do a huge amount of good when you're busy running your company. But I think it shows that it's important not to have a kind of fire and forget relationship with your PR company. You should know what they're doing in your name, because ultimately the PR company, if Pando boycotts an entire PR company, then they will still get clients. You know, it doesn't necessarily kill their company, but it kills if that's the only way the entrepreneur is talking to the press. That company will never be on Pando. Now, I'm not saying there are any companies who are blanket banned from Pando, but I'm saying if we have a strained relationship with a PR agency, then the clients suffer. So it's really down to the clients to understand what's being done in their name. So anyway, who cares? PR people.
But like, I had that conversation a ton with entrepreneurs, and like, I think the best entrepreneurs are really savvy about it. I mean, it's like I had an issue with I guess I can name this one. There's no reason not to. I had an issue with Clout earlier in the year. I'd like run into Joe Fernandez, and like I've always said I like Joe as an entrepreneur more than I like the company.
Yeah.
But like I ran into Joe at a party or something, and he was, you know, kind of raving about how much he, you know, really liked Pando, and like, you know, really, you know, like the kind of reporting we do and whatever. And then they had, you know, their big relaunch coming out.
Yeah.
And, you know, they had one of these things where they were just kind of blanketed across like a million outlets. And, you know, and so it's like, you know, there's even in the world of embargoes, they're like palatable, smart embargoes, and they're just stupid embargoes. Yeah. And like, in my opinion, the way they were doing it was stupid. And, you know, and so I just sent a note to.
Well, the way their agency was doing it was stupid. They weren't
in-house person. Actually.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah. And so I just sent a note to Joe directly, and I was like, you know, I'm not trying to get anyone fired or not trying to be punitive in any way, but I was just like, you know, FYI, like, you were just saying the other day how much you really like our content. Yeah. You know, I'm sure you're going to be disappointed that we don't cover this. You know, I want to explain to you personally why we're not covering it in case this doesn't get back to you. And like, you know, a couple of, you know, the biggest clients that I write about a lot that, you know, work with the firm that we did the book today with, like, I messaged those entrepreneurs directly. And like, the agent was pissed that I did it, but it's like, I told them, I was like, look, I'm not going to say anything behind your back that I didn't already say to you this morning, first of all. And second of all, like, you know, I've got to protect my publication. And if this is how things go and things go wrong, like, I can't put us in that position again.
Yeah.
And, you know, frankly, the people who are some of the main companies that I write about every day, I have a relationship with them too. And they need to understand what's happening. Like, I'm not going to let you just be the one who communicates why I'm not covering that. So, you know, I don't know. I have a strong policy of like, I think as long as you're like really upfront with everybody in the ecosystem and like you tell the PR people like, you know, why you're pissed at what they did or why you think their, you know, policy isn't working. And then you communicate to any entrepreneur you have a relationship with, like, look, this is why I'm not covering you. I want you to understand it from my point of view. Because you also never know what a PR person is telling, you know.
Telling their client,
about what went wrong with the story. So
I think the point is, look, if you're a PR person, you're sending the story to everybody, then there's no value in Pando covering that story. I mean, I've had this. I very, 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 very rarely write about products or launches, which is why when I do, I have the luxury of being an extremist on it. Like, I literally say, unless I'm the only one writing this, then I'm not doing it. But the middle ground is like, if they send it to 3 or 4, 6 or 7 different blogs, then honestly, Pando has really good, talented writers who could be spending their time on stories that aren't going to be on.
Exactly. And that's the point. And that's, you know, what I feel like we've made like really clear since the beginning.
It's not ego. It's not we want the story because no one else has. It's literally, what's the point in writing the same story as 7 other people have got?
It's also, I think it's beyond that. It's also the issue of, well, a lot of bloggers may do like, you know, 6 to 10 stories a day. Our reporters do 2.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like we need to like pick and choose like what those 2 stories are. And so it is just a waste of resources at your point. Now, that having been said, some people are like, oh, like, why can't you just take a total stance on this? And it's like, well, because there's some companies and things I want to write about. Like I did a story, that ran at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
About One Kings Lane and this like $50 million funding they did. And my story was significantly different than what a lot of other people wrote. I mean, it really focused on, sort of the 3 ways that company is trying to differentiate itself. 2 are sort of trends that I've written about and linked. And, how the strategic partnership that, they did as part of this round, could possibly play into that, but like all the risks with it as well. And like, it was a very different angle.
It doesn't make sense to say if
I writing those stories.
It doesn't make sense to say that you wouldn't write about a story just because no one else has written about it. Because if a story is interesting to readers, my point is, if it's a product launch and 7 other people already said this product launches, you have nothing to say. I want to show you something.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Just on the subject of effective PR. So, Farad, the sometime contributor.
Can we just, I want to put a bow on this conversation just because I hate when people just bitch and don't offer anything conclusive.
All right, wrap it up.
Like every time, there's something like this, people are like, well, what should we do? And it's like, I'm telling you, if you must do an embargo and can't do anything exclusively, think really hard. What are the 2 outlets we need to give this to? Or what are the 3 outlets we need to give this to? And if you're giving it to 4 to 7 outlets, just don't fucking contact us, except sending a release that we can put in the ticker.
I think we all know that the outlets to give it to are Pando Daily and Nicholas Carlson of Business Insider. Because that way you get at one end, you get analysis and reporting, and at the other end, you get a fucking slideshow.
You know what I thought was funny today? So Hamish had, this excellent sort of very well...
The oatmeal BuzzFeed thing?
Yeah, story on the BuzzFeed oatmeal thing. I found it hilarious that the day after the oatmeal guy published his excoriating piece, Business Insider did a fluffy profile on Jonah Peretti. That is Business Insider's niche, is responding...
Damage limitation.
...for... companies, so they don't have to do it with ridiculously fluffy profiles.
There's on top of you can get it for the top of your building, like a bat signal, but it's a Nicholas Carlson Business Insider signal. So if somebody says something mean about you, you turn it on, and they immediately write nice things about you. Great. I almost, if I had the inclination, and if enough people gave a fuck, I'd almost want to write the Business Insider post about great dictators in history. And how they were in fairness, he spent $100,000 of his own money making more money.
He did help build roads.
Printing, exactly. The amount of money he spent on propaganda alone, that was his own money. I have become, this isn't what I wanted to talk about, because I still want to talk about this thing, but I have become the go-to person now for every single fucking reporter who wants balance on their Uber story. I've had everyone, from the New Republic yesterday to something called the News Now Nation Network something blog call me up. Everybody. And they all say really, in their email, really sort of will you speak on the record? Yes, I will speak on...
You already published it.
And by the way, I don't give a fuck if you're the New Republic or Jimmy's blog. I will speak on the record. But I can save, actually this is a good platform to do this. I can save everyone the effort. I'll do it on the record now. I think their cars are very nice. I think their founder is a dick. That's basically variations on that of what I've been saying all week. I think leather seats, Ayn Rand. There you go. I mean, that's my whole on the record spiel right there.
I know you like to do this for a fact. I actually think that you go down the wrong path with Uber when you talk about him being a dick or you talk about evil and not evil. It's this is the Mark Ames influence on you. And that's not the issue. I don't, there are plenty of great entrepreneurs, great business people who enabled wonderful things in society who I would never set if I had a single sister, set a sister up on a blind date with. I mean,
Peter Thiel.
I think that is an absolute side issue. My issue with Uber is the lack of authenticity and the bullying and then the changing tactics but not owning up to it, and the Robin Hood tact when really you're providing something for rich people. I mean, it's sort of disingenuousness to customers And to drivers, frankly, that's like my issue. It's not like how nice or how much of a dick Travis is. Like, I think you get into a sideshow.
No, I think I mean, you can read the stuff I've said on the record about it. I think you can actually. I'm very clear the dickishness that bothers me about him and the way the business is done is I don't care if he's nice to his pets. Like I have no idea. Maybe when he's not running Uber, he does amazing charity work. Probably not charity work, Ayn Rand. Maybe he, is like helps old women. No, they can look after themselves. But anyway, I'm sure he does something good at some point in his life. One day he's done something good. But no, my point with when I say dickishness is I mean very specifically the way he runs the company is dickish, and the messaging is dickish. The messaging of, oh, we're really.
You could pick a better adjective than dickish. But like you and I have a slightly different view on this.
Yeah.
You're gonna have different views.
So to something good.
Yes.
And this is how. By the way, if you want to do PR, you know what a really good way to get good PR is, and to get journalists to say nice things about you, is to make a really really good thing. So this is the weirdest fucking thing. So Lee Cowart in Death Notes. I'm jumping to the middle of the story, but Lee Cowart in Death Notes wrote on Not Safe for Work wrote the other day. Can you believe this guy on Slate wrote a 3-page article about a fucking hoodie and about how great this hoodie is? And she was obviously expecting me to jump in and others to jump in and go, God, what a bunch of losers. But I had to confess to her, funny story, I actually bought that hoodie based on Farad's 3-page review of this fucking hoodie. So I saw the link, I saw his byline, it says, it's like, and it was one of those awful type of like questiony headlines, like, is this the world's best hoodie? And whatever. And there's a moment of like, he's a really smart guy and a really good reporter and all these other things. If he's writing this piece, either Slate are holding his family hostage, or it's a really good hoodie. So I start reading.
It's like really a story about Amazon or something.
Right, so I click on it. And it basically is a 3-page love letter to this company called American Giant, who make these hoodies. They make them in California, they make them in San Francisco. It costs like a bunch more to make them than it does to make regular hoodies, because A, they're made in America, but B, and it's the usual garbage of like, oh, they use thicker cotton than everyone else, and they handcraft, they get artisans to handcraft each buttonhole and all this other shit, or the zips or whatever. And I'm reading it going, it can't be that good. But then by the end of it, I'm like, it does sound like a really good hoodie. So I think, fuck it. So I order a hoodie. I order one of their hoodies. I ordered it in a blue. Now my only complaint would be...
My concern would be that Farhad's a very tiny man.
Correct. So I sized up because I knew that there is no... Right, I worked on the base...
I would go with this hoodie recommendation as a pregnant woman.
So, I will be honest with you, it did occur to me that, sort of 3'5", 47-pound Farhad Manjoo might not. But I thought, you know what? I'm sold. If you've spent 3 pages talking about this fucking hoodie, and by the way, the hoodie is like $75. This is not a cheap hoodie. And to my shame, because I'm so impatient, I even paid they give free shipping, but I paid the express shipping. I paid another like $20 to get it the next day. But I will say, for the record, because Lee and I cannot have been the only ones who saw that piece and thought, when did Slate become such, giving hand jobs to hoodie manufacturers? It's a really good hoodie. I would just like to say, for the record, as someone who often has nothing good to say on this show.
Without getting into this in 3 pages, what makes it such a great hoodie?
First of all, and you can't really tell this, it feels really substantial. It is very thick. No, the biggest thing about it, there are 2 amazing traits to this hoodie. The first trait is it's really fucking warm. Right now it's quite chilly in Vegas. It's a really cozy, warm hoodie. However, the other day when the sun came out, it was quite warm. It didn't feel too warm. The other great thing about this hoodie is most hoodies, and I wear a lot of hoodies, they're really slouchy. That's the point of them. They're supposed to be kind of clothes you throw on when you just want a slouchy garment. It's a fitted hoodie. It fits really well. You wear it, it feels almost more like a jacket. Like you could wear it to, I wouldn't say you'd wear it to a smart event, but you would probably wear it to somewhere where a normal hoodie might be too casual.
It's a dress hoodie, is what you're saying?
I'm saying it's a dress hoodie. No, I'm saying it's what Converse are to sneakers. It's like you can get away at slightly smarter places in Converse. They're not quite as slouchy as wearing sports shoes. It's just a really good hoodie. And I really have nothing else to say about it than that, except to say that it just drove home that idea of if you make something that's really good, then even really good reporters and cynical fucking dicks like me will say good things about it. I just wanted to bring some sort of positivity to this about, so I can.
Well, no, and frankly, I mean, those are usually it's the companies that I'm really excited about that I think are either doing something really cool or have a good product, or it's sort of something that needs to happen. Like those tend to be the companies that I'll write about, even if there's an embargo. So it's
Right.
like I think it's the same point. I mean, the most extreme case I think kind of early on in our life was with Rebel Mouse, which I'd like seen months earlier when I'd been in New York, and I thought it was really, really cool. And he actually sent me a heads up on it, but I totally was like doing CEO stuff and like screwed up and so it's like I think I wrote my story on it like actually like 2 days after everyone else had. But we sent them like more users than anyone else because like my story was so exuberant because like I really, really liked the product.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean and that's why I won't say, oh, I'll just never do whatever, because like if I think something's really cool or it's a really cool story, like I don't give a fuck who's written about it.
And the funny thing, and that's the thing, is actually there is nothing inherently wrong with being positive about something. Unfortunately, we live in a world where all too often reporters and writers and reviewers say good things because for ulterior motives, be it a personal relationship, be it a financial relationship, horrifically sometimes, be it I went to school with that guy, or there's just or they just met them at a party and kind of feel like they owe them a favor or whatever else. It's unfortunately quite difficult to authentically promote something, to authentically say something's good. But I think the times when I think readers can still tell when it's authentic. And I don't know, but I would bet that American Giant has sold a shit ton of hoodies this week. Because I think when you have a reporter who has spent years building up credibility, and they don't just say things to be nice, and they don't just write, sort of handjob pieces to companies. And when they say to you, this thing is really good, and then talk about it so sort of enthusiastically, you tend to believe them. And when you believe, and it just shows that even though the internet is full of reviews and there's Yelp and there's Amazon and there's all this other thing, there is still a hugely powerful thing in having a professional writer and professional reviewer who you trust tell you to do something, tell you to buy something, tell you to see a movie, tell you to buy a hoodie, whatever the fuck it is. Like, I absolutely bought this on the strength of Farhad and the fact that I trust him. And so if I now find that
it's based on the premise of, the words that we write are inherently more valuable than an anonymous person on the web with a platform. Otherwise, there's no reason for you or I to get paid if we get paid.
If I find out now that American Giant is backed by the Farhad Fund, I will be really, really upset.
That is the other reason journalists should not operate venture funds.
Exactly. I love the idea that he has a fund that simply invests in manufacturers of hoodies.
So you're saying you're not quite you didn't give Church Key Beer the same consideration?
It's the funniest thing is although I read respected journalists like Mike Arrington and MG Siegler talking about how delicious Church Key Beer is, it still struck a discordant note somehow. It's the strangest thing. And yet I saw them on stage at Disrupt, and I mean, you can't just buy your way onto stage at Disrupt, and yet, so I assume that they're one of the more prominent company. I mean, they had Mark Zuckerberg on stage, so I assume they're at least equivalent to a Mark Zuckerberg. And yet, in fairness, I don't drink, so maybe that's what it is. But there was no part of me that thought if I drank, I would want to. I just I'd want to crack open a Church Key Beer. You can't do that, can you? I'd want to.
Cool.
I'd want to spend an hour and a half trying to find the thing that I put down somewhere that would allow me to eventually enjoy cutting my mouth on a Church Key Beer. I actually saw they serve that at the whatever it's called, the nice the hotel in Union Square that I should know the name of, the Starwood place, the St. Francis. And it was really fun watching, and I guess it must have been somebody who was an investor in Church Key Beer, because the one person who I've ever seen actually order it. And it was really fun watching the bartender have to go and find the thing, and how annoyed he looked at having to do it. And then the fact that he then had to open it and pour it into a glass and just deliver the glass. Like, there was absolutely no value at all in that guy having ordered a Church Key Beer. And it was like, I assume you are in some way affiliated with the company. Could just be a delicious beer. I don't know. I'll never know. It's sad. Anyway, what else is going on? What are you doing tonight? Anything good?
Huh?
What are you doing tonight? Anything good?
Oh, there's a couple of Christmas parties.
Oh, yeah.
I was just actually looking to see like what time they go. You know, it's that season.
'Tis the season, I believe is the way you say it.
Yeah, I don't like to go into for convention.
'Tis the season to go to 2 Christmas parties. Do you have to pick one, or are you going to go to both?
I think I'm gonna go to both.
Wow.
I had picked, but that one doesn't start until 8.
So you're going to go to one before.
So 5.
Are they close by? Like, do you have to? I
The
don't
whole
know.
city's 7 miles by 7 miles. So how far can they be?
7 miles
Exactly.
maximum.
Still pretty close.
Or I don't really understand maths. If you go diagonally, is that longer?
Yeah.
Right. So it could be further apart.
Circle?
Well, no, I just mean like 7 miles that way, 7 miles that way. If you go that way, that's longer than 7 miles?
What do you not understand? When did you become retarded?
I don't understand Pythagoras, I think is the issue. I
The
think...
city's not a circle.
Huh?
The city is not a circle.
I'm aware of that. That I knew. That did not require a mathematician. What I'm saying is, so let's say this was 7 miles by 7 miles, which...
I mean, I'm giving you the answer and saying,
Okay.
if the city isn't a circle,
Mm-hmm.
and it's 7 miles by 7 miles, then yes, the diagonal
Would be
of,
long.
say, the loose square would be longer.
Mm. This is why I use words and not numbers. This is why I have people to do numbers for me.
Concepts.
Yeah, complicated. I feel like Eli would have been able to correct me on that. Where is Eli? I don't see him.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, that's one reason I feel like I need to go to both parties, because Eli's not here. I feel like I need something to do.
Oh, that's sad. You should come to Vegas. It's great here.
Well, Eli and I will both be coming to Vegas in end of this week. But no, Megan took Eli home with her last night.
By accident in her bag.
Yes, she forgot to unbuckle him from the car seat. No, Megan lives with her sister, and she's very close to her family. And her sister, so Eli has gone to stay with her several times when Jeff and I have been traveling.
Right.
And her sister just really missed Eli.
Aww.
Wanted to see him. And for whatever reason, Eli has like sort of an unhealthy obsession with Megan's sister. He also really likes Megan's dog. And I think Megan is not going to see him over the holidays, so she was feeling somewhat clingy. So
Right.
she was like, she was going to take him home for tonight, since I had a holiday party to go to. But then Monday, she was like, well, I'm just going to take him for 2 nights. And so it was a weird issue of me sort of like fighting with custody of my child with my nanny.
Right. Yeah, and weird that you lost that fight. Like, PR people, you can win. Your employee, not so much.
It's one of those things, but this is also like my last week in town for a few weeks, so I have like quite a bit of work that I need to get done, and meetings and different things. So it's like, look, if I can have like a 4 to 8 hour period of kind of plowing through that stuff,
Yeah.
that's a bad thing. And I am like 25 weeks pregnant with a 1-year-old in the company, so like me actually just sort of like sleeping 10 hours at night like isn't a bad thing.
Sounds
so
fun.
like there are theoretically silver linings to me having like a break every once in a while.
Right.
But it's like I've kind of had this shitty day, and it would have just been nice to like hug Eli throughout the day.
Yes, it would. I know what to tell you. I also have no one to hug, but fortunately I've had quite a good day, so it's a wash. I'm going to wear my hoodie. I'm going to be snug in my hoodie.
You could hug Mark Ames.
Not so much.
You have that kind of relationship?
Not really. That's not really how the sort of other editor relationship works. We've been brainstorming, and Mark's in town, as you've mentioned a couple of times. Mark's in town in Vegas.
Show you? Like, I know you've seen it already, but the picture of Eli's haircut.
It's an adorable picture. It's a good haircut as well. Bit hipster, but good.
Just so cute. I can't handle it.
Literally can't handle it because he's not there.
No, this is him in the chair.
It's great.
I've turned into Kathy Lee.
Yes, you have. It's I'd see if you can figure out the mental connection I just made there. It's Tech Week in Vegas this week. What the fuck is...
That was like when I was in my jihad with Virgin America. That's on their in-flight thing.
Oh, you said this is their ideal customer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tattoos.
I like Virgin America. Yeah, it's Tech Week in Vegas this week.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I have to say. That's literally it. I got an email about it. It's Tech Week.
Something to do with children?
Tech Week.
You know what? I saw that, and I was actually going to ask you about it because it starts Friday, and I get in town on Friday, and I would ordinarily like to go, but there's sort of an outstanding issue there. So
what's the outstanding issue?
Well, you know well what it is.
No, I know, but you know we're being recorded for a show. I mean, like, you can't just say that.
There was,
Shall I do it?
should we get into this? I mean, it's kind of inside baseball. It's a little petty. It's not petty, but it's like...
It's not petty. We can do it. I can do it in a nutshell.
Resolved. Is it something we should get into that when it's not resolved?
Yeah, sure. I can do it in a nutshell, which is, I said, you know, I love my initial disclaimer will be, I think what's happening in Vegas is fantastic with technology, really proud to be part of it.
I'm getting a cookie while you're doing that.
Sounds great. Hope it's an Indian cookie. Spices. I'll start by saying I am a huge supporter of what's going on in Vegas tech. I think it's going from strength to strength. There's some great companies moving here. I'm slowly but surely moving as much of my team here as I possibly can. That all having been said, and so it's Tech Week this week, and I very much would love to be also an active promoter of that. There is an issue when one of your featured guests is I was going to use the word star. It's a bit like you use the word porn star, like they're all stars, like a star, with a 0.3 in the 18 to 35 and 400,000 viewers of Bravo's Real Silicon Valley Housewives of whatever the fuck it's called show is one of the and I won't say who because that's unnecessary and mean. I mean, it's not her fault that she's in an awful show, but one of the stars is a sort of featured guest, and I just think if you're going to, as I'm proud to do, talk about the legitimate tech things that are going on here, and if you're going to disagree with people when they say, well, isn't it just people who couldn't make it in Silicon Valley? It becomes hard to do that when one of the guests at Tech Week in Vegas... One of the very first guests. Of the first Tech Week in Vegas is... And by the way, there was Tim Draper's coming, there were some legit people. I mean... I'm choosing my words carefully, but there are definitely some legit people coming, and there are some very legit people already here. But that to me just sends a very bad signal, and I would rather not participate. Mm-hmm. I would rather not say yes, this is the Vegas tech that I know and love. But it's a shame because I think it's being organised by Frank Gruber, who's great, and Jen, who are they're both great, and I think there's some really cool people coming to town, and yeah, that was just a weird decision. It's funny because it's like having Snooki speak at TED, and you go, why ruin it?
It's one of those things where it's like there's someone else that came and spoke there last week who I'm not the world's biggest fan of. That having been said, that person's actually a legitimate entrepreneur who started a company, so it's like, I would never, ever, ever...
And the key point is perfectly representative of the kind of young, vibrant, interesting entrepreneur that you would want to say is in Vegas. Like, if the person you're talking about was in Vegas tech, that would be pretty legit. Like, that would suggest that there is at least a movement of legit people. Like, that's not the... Yeah, so the question is not whether you personally...
Not. I think there's probably, of people I can think of, maybe 4 people who I would have this, reaction to. But I just think...
Are they all the stars of Silicon Valley and Bradley Zuckerberg?
I was thinking them plus a few others. So I don't know how I actually watched the show. I don't know how many people are on it, but
Yeah.
whatever. Let's say I could probably count on two hands the people that I would have this reaction to. But it's just one of those things where it's like, you remember during that whole Angelgate thing where because I keep thinking like, am I being like too harsh on this? But like, you remember the email that Ron Conway sent after that, where he just said, I think what you guys are doing is wrong. I think colluding, on prices is anti-entrepreneur. I think the only reason any of us has jobs are because of entrepreneurs. And I will not be a hypocrite and just go along with this. And like, he subsequently like sort of blackballed people and would not do deals with them. And it's like, to me, it's the same kind of thing. It's like, if I've taken a stance, and there are very few things that I really grandstand on. And if there's something I've taken a stance on and said, I actually think this is dangerous and bad for an ecosystem, I think it'd be really hypocritical for me to like turn around and support, that person appearing. It's like that kind of personal integrity. Like, I either kind of stand for what I've said or I don't.
Well, the ultimate way to kind of get somebody is if they've been an opponent to something, and then you go, but funny that this person claims to be an opponent of this thing, and yet they spoke at their conference, and yet they supported a conference at which that person was speaking. And it's like a very good, being in the same room as someone in that capacity, being on the same, essentially sharing a stage with somebody, sends a very strong signal of support. And it sends a very strong signal of, and if you're at a thing, it sends a very strong signal of, if you're in a visible way at a thing, it sends a very strong signal of, I support this. And I'm confident that I want to be able to, there are lots of things, and we've always been the reason why I think it is worth bringing up is because we've always been very open and honest on the show about like the good and the bad and the real stuff, and we've done that about Vegas as well. I think there are lots of things, there are loads, because what's happening in downtown Vegas is a startup, there are plenty of frustrating things. There are frustrating things in any startup, and there are things where, especially when it's a startup that you're not the CEO of, there are plenty of things where you would say, well, if I were doing it, I would do it differently.
Right.
And I think, the startup analogy breaks down a bit, because if you're an employee at a startup, if you don't like the way the CEO is behaving, then fuck off. But in this kind of startup where it's more of a sort of commune, more of a community type thing, I'm overall a huge supporter of what's going on here, and I want to have the credibility, like Farad with this hoodie, of saying to people when they say to me, and my team as well, who I'm trying to bring here, when I say to people, you should come here, it's really interesting and vibrant and great, and they're bringing good people, I want you to be one of those good people. I need to be, and this is, same with you clearly, you need to be equally open and honest when you say, that person, that thing does not, not calling her a thing, I mean that thing, that concept, does not represent what I'm talking about. Because otherwise you say, well, I really believe in what's going on here, and then someone will say, wait, you believe in her as a speaker? Like, I need to be able to say,
role model who should be mentoring people.
I know, exactly. The idea that these guests are coming in to mentor, I need to be able to say no, and that's why I didn't attend that event. So but it's a shame. I want to say also on the record, I think everything else about Tech Week in Vegas is really good, and if you are in Vegas this week, there's some great people in town, and it's a good time to come down, and because there'll be tours and there'll be all this other stuff, and I have no doubt that Frank Gruber and Jen and Tony and Zach and all the rest of them involved in it will do a really good job putting on a show, and there'll be, if you're thinking about coming to Vegas, it's probably a good time to come and see some of it. But unfortunately, it is not exactly what you should. It is not the exact impression I would like to give you. I would rather. I would rather certain elements were not there, because I think I think they don't just not represent what's going on here, but I think they're actually actively dangerous if we're sending a signal of. Because I think that whole show was about people who couldn't really.
Well, the whole show is about the kind of glamour and lifestyle of play acting that you're an entrepreneur, which is like, that's a particular danger when you're talking about a place where most people don't know a lot of people who've started and built companies. I mean, it is just a message you don't want to send across, and it's certainly not someone you want to hold up as a mentor for the community.
Right, and I think actually the other thing this has just suddenly occurred to me. I think another reason I'm pissed about it is because, and I am pissed about it, is because I spend a lot of time telling people, because it's true, that the Vegas you see on television, the people getting drunk constantly and the strip and the fucking madness, that is legitimately part of Vegas. That is not Vegas. but it isn't all of Vegas. And downtown, and particularly east of, the sort of east side of Fremont and the rest of downtown, it isn't that. And the people here, I don't spend my whole time in strip clubs and clearly not getting drunk, but the entrepreneurship here is legit. People work really hard here, and in some cases work harder than, in my case, certainly work harder than I would do in San Francisco because there are fewer distractions. Like, there is real work gets done here in the good startups. And I feel like in the same way as those people represent, and that show represents a type of Silicon Valley that isn't the real Silicon Valley, and certainly isn't the one that entrepreneurs exist within, I feel like someone like that, because of the connection to the show, reinforces the idea that Vegas is this ridiculous party city. That whole show is all about people getting so drunk they can't show up to a pitch meeting, or they have to sleep under
parties with investors.
That, to me, bringing someone who is involved in that show, and I'm sure, and I don't mean to make this an attack on her personally, I'm sure the show was very good for her career, that's what she does. It's not about her as a human being, it's about her as a person who's in that show. That to me represents a type of Vegas that I just do not want associated with what's going on in downtown, because it'll attract the wrong kind of person. And it sounds like, God, get over it, it's just a person coming to a fucking thing, but equally, in the same way as the show is infuriating on so many levels, what that represents is infuriating on so many levels. And again, I want really good people to come to downtown Vegas and build amazing companies.
Right.
And shit like that doesn't help.
Well, and I understand why to other people, maybe it doesn't matter, but the bottom line is it matters to me. And there are very few things where it's I've staked out that I think this is dangerous, or I think this is an issue. And you don't have to understand why it's an issue to me, but if I've said that and done that, then I need to live up to that.
Yeah. No, I think everyone has personal principles, and they may be, and in fact they probably should in many cases be things that don't really matter to anyone else. This is the way in which this is the way I live my life. This is my personal code, and I'm going to stick to it. It's there's nothing wrong with that.
Look, I have to say, one of my
By the way, I'm sure she'll attract way more people than I would if I was there. I'm sure there'll be many more people who want to come and see the fucking star of what.
No one watches her on TV.
That's a good point.
So I'm not sure.
That's a good point. They should be publishing. I'm sure you've got the RSS feed, because don't they publish the ratings on BravoRatings.com today?
You know what? They have not published for a while. They never published the Tuesday one.
Maybe there literally are no ratings. Maybe they're
I think whoever does BravoRatings.com is on vacation, because last week there were only 2 posts that went up.
Oh, I tried to get BravoRatings.com. Did I cut you off?
No, I just was done with my sentence.
We've doubled BravoRatings.com's traffic just by.
I know.
Okay, BravoRatings.com.
It was a bad week for that person to go out of town. I've driven them a lot of traffic.
It's such a messy site. It's horrible.
It's so great though.
Yeah, Yeah, I know. That's the thing. I genuinely, as I know you haven't, genuinely have not watched a single second of the show. I haven't even watched everyone keeps talking about that one scene that was on the trailers, I guess, of Hermione falling asleep under the table. I haven't even seen that.
That wasn't even.
But I must admit, I have spent, since your post on Pando in particular about BravoRatings.com, I have spent a lot of time on BravoRatings.com. They now, I would imagine, have more viewers and more long time viewers on BravoRatings.com than the show does. Anyway, should we do regret of the week so that you can go and eat whatever Americans eat at Christmas at parties?
I was is it Christmas? Because I'm in the wrong city.
Or you're going to Christmas parties.
Yeah,
hors d'oeuvres, whatever a festive hors d'oeuvre would be.
Hang on, I'm just looking at the.
BravoRatings.com.
No, I'm looking at the proof for our Ben Horowitz pillow. So.
Go on.
For people who don't know what I'm talking about,
mm-hmm.
One of our giveaways to Panda Monthly members is you get a pillow with my favorite quote from last year's Panda Monthly on it.
Mm-hmm.
And Ani has been driving herself insane, trekking all over the garment district of San Francisco and in various warehouses, trying to buy fabric and then find printers and get this thing done for as cheap as possible. Because I was Keelan and I had a big argument about it. I was we're absolutely doing this pillow, and she was I don't want to pay like $30 for a fucking pillow for everybody that we're giving away free. And I'm like, I don't care. And so like, Ani's been trying to make both of us happy.
That seems like a recipe for disaster.
Um,
Should get American Giant to do it. Farad will write 3 pages on how delightful the material is.
so I'm curious your take on it. It's a shame I didn't download it on my phone.
Go on.
But we went with this, it's screen printed, but we went with this like cross stitch motif as if like your grandmother had put this on a pillow for you.
My grandmother had stitched a Ben Horowitz quote onto a pillow.
Yeah, like Home Sweet Home, like you know the whole idea.
Surely Home Sweet Home Boy if it's Ben Horowitz.
I mean, the whole idea is that these are going to be on like every startup has a couch.
Yeah.
And so it's like these will be like on the couches. So it's like it's our sort of.
Have you seen what pillow I've got on my couch, by the way?
Yeah, I did. I was trying to ignore that.
The not safe for work couch.
Yeah.
In my defense, I stole it from their booth at CES last year. I won't be going this year.
Anyway, so I like I'm sort of now debating this cross stitch motif because like it may just not make a lot of sense, and like certainly the quote doesn't pop as much cross stitch. But
what's the quote?
One of the horrible things about being a founder CEO is it's the one job you can't really quit, or if you do, you're a punk.
Read it again.
You were there.
No, I'm trying to, because I guess you can't, because it's a great quote. Why don't you do the first half on one side of the pillow and then the punchline on the other side?
That's stupid.
Every single person watching this show is disagreeing with you and agreeing with me, by the way. Every single one.
Then.
Every single James Kotecki.
Right.
James Kotecki and who else watches the show?
Craig Butter.
Craig Butter. I haven't heard from him for a while. Is passionately agreeing with you because it's the one job you can't quit. Then you turn it over and it says, "Or if you do, you're a punk."
That's stupid.
We
have our logo on that.
Oh, okay, fair enough. People are still agreeing with me. They're doing it in the comments right now.
I doubt it.
Scroll down.
I doubt it.
I agree with Paul. They're saying.
Neither of you have seen a mock-up, so I mean.
True. No, I do. You do need the logo on one side. I mean, I will. Yeah. I will agree with that.
So I don't know. Hopefully people.
That's a good quote.
I feel like we do a lot of things.
What do you mean? Why would they not get it? It's a pretty straightforward and great quote.
Like, get why it's cross stitch. You know what I mean? Like, get the joke.
Oh.
I feel like we do a lot of things like this that I'm always like, are people going to get this? And like, sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't.
You're asking the wrong person because my approach to jokes has always been, and it has to be this with jokes. It's got to be, do I think it's funny? Do I think it's the kind of joke that, in my case, not safe for work, in your case, Pando should be making? If you answer yes to both those questions, then fuck the 3 people who go, I don't understand. Sorry, then. Like, it's actually quite a good sort of shibboleth. It's like, if you laugh, you're a Pando person. If you don't, well, switch on the Nick Carlson bat signal. He'll come running. I think it's, no, and I think people who, look, if somebody, I
feel like we get this a lot with Pando House Rock. Like, there are people who think it's the greatest thing ever.
Oh my god, the McAfee thing was amazing.
I don't understand what I'm looking at.
The McAfee thing was amazing.
Wasn't it great? Did you watch it?
So good. It was really good. It opened slowly. There was a bit too much run, whatever it was. And then it got really good. Now, that's one of the best ones. I really liked it. But, no, so I was going to say, with this, Pando House Rock, look, it's on the site. You get a lot of people reading the site. There are going to be those who don't get it. However, with the pillow, if you have paid $1,000 to come and see you interviewing these people, and that means you probably were at the Ben Horowitz one as well. If I would, the Venn diagram of people who pay $1,000 because they're that committed to Pando, but who don't get the joke, what's that overlap? It's like this. It's like, oh, I don't get why that's interesting or funny or great. Like, what did you think you were paying your $1,000 for?
Do you think it's great, the cross-stitching?
I think that you can only do it cross-stitching. If you're going to embroider something on a pillow, it has to look like something your grandmother has done. Like, it has to look... Right. It's very funny. No. I think it's... Especially when you've got Ben Horowitz, the freaking original gangster, Ben Horowitz, as the guy. It's perfect. Because he is basically...
I hope people pillows are so popular that people are like really battling it out this year to get next year's quote.
I think you're also hoping they're so popular so you can say "I told you so" tequila. But I think the
No, the thing is, I want the fucking pillow, and so it's
The
like
cross
it
stitch
comes
is-
down to the like
the-
we're producing this because I want
the
it.
cross stitch is also
It
a
was like the John McAfee thing. I was like, I would really like a ballad of John McAfee. I
Yeah.
really want to enjoy this in song form.
the cross. That's the only way you can commission stuff. This is a subject for another episode, but that's both you and I can surely agree that the only way to commission editorial and make it good and authentic is if it's stuff that you like, and if other people do, great. No, the cross stitch also works really well because of who it is. Because Ben is the ultimate gangster quote cross stitched. Like it's there is no more Ben Horowitz thing than cross stitching a sort of like badass quote. It's like, yeah, I'm a gangster, but I'm cross stitching it onto a pillow like that.
But I'm blogging about
But
it.
I'm blogging it. I'm blogging a Kanye West quote, and then like, yeah, going into my meeting. Yeah, it's perfect. I think I think you'll find people paying $1,000 just for the pillow, frankly, and the not safe for work subscription.
Here's the question: should we sell them separately?
No,
Because Andreessen Horowitz,
I've answered
not
the question.
surprisingly, wants us to sell them because they want to buy additional pillows.
no. No. I absolutely don't think you should. I think maybe you could do next year when the new pillow comes out. Maybe you can sell
Good idea.
the previous years, because I think. No, I think if you're a subscriber to or a member rather of Panda, no, it should be exclusive. It should be just you. I think there is probably one exception to that rule, which is if you have if you have been a guest,
Right.
then you get a pillow. In which case, if Mark asks nicely, I'm sure Ben will lend him his pillow. Like they can have one.
They did buy 2 memberships, so.
Well, then they get 2 pillows. So shut the fuck up. You know, one they need 3 because now they've got Chris Dixon as well. They need.
Oh yeah.
Mark, Ben, and Chris Dixon. So what? No, he hasn't. Is he speaking at
No.
New York Pando? No. Then he doesn't get one.
Chris is.
Chris, no, that's what I
is
said.
also. Ben has already spoken.
No, that's fine. But they've got 2 membership. My point is they have 2 memberships anyway.
Right.
So they
have
get.
2 memberships, and then 2 people are speaking.
So they get 2 pillows. So they'll have 4 pillows. They'll have plenty of pillows. Margaret can have a pillow. They've all got pillows. Everything's fine. Phew. Now they can sit comfortably.
I'm really excited about the pillow.
I hear that. It comes across in your voice.
I'm a little nervous because Ani's like, I think illegal things might be going on to get these pillows made.
There are so many punchlines, and I can't, out of respect to Arnie.
And real world mental issues.
There are, I cannot complete this joke, but that's what the comments are for. So, no, I'm.
Encourage people to make jokes about Ani in the comments.
I won't. Let me just say this: if anyone can get a discount on the pillows sufficient to make them both excellent quality and affordable, it will be Arnie.
Mm-hmm.
She is a master at that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to buy a membership now so I get a pillow.
I know. I'm gonna get one without buying membership.
I'm gonna get one by breaking into
I
the
get
offices.
like 20 because I speak at every event.
I'm gonna break into the offices of Andreessen Horowitz. I technically speak at every event. I'm gonna steal the extra pillow they have. All right, we should.
The idea that you would break into Andreessen Horowitz and not steal the priceless modern art that hangs on the wall, but the Panda monthly pillow.
I don't know if you've noticed, but I tend to steal weird things when I since getting sober, I haven't really done this. But when I did,
We're not having the duck story again, are we?
I wasn't going to mention the duck, but as soon as you bring it up.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, let's do regret of the week. We're already an hour into this
I
thing.
know we are. Hour and 4 minutes and 48 seconds. What's your regret of the week, Sarah?
Well, I mean, my real regret of the week was, how I ultimately capitulating to that whole, bullshit this morning.
I think you handled it well.
Specifics.
I think you handled it well. My regret of the week, I have a couple. One of my regrets of the week is this is a regret in a weird sense, but I regret the fact that I cannot support Tech Week because I feel more positive than I have for a while about being in Vegas. Like, I'm not that I've been negative about being in Vegas, but maybe it's Christmas, I don't know. But I'm really enjoying being here, and maybe it's just that the company is going very well, but I really like being part of it, and I feel like I want now more people to come. And so I regret the fact that I can't be part of like the big Tech Week event thing. I don't know if that counts does that count as a regret? Because I wouldn't do it differently. Is that a regret? I regret that I've not eaten enough today. I'm really hungry. And you spent the whole show eating, and now I'm even more hungry. I regret that.
These are delicious.
Oh, why are you doing? Oh my god, that's 2 of my favorite things. 3 if
you
you
can.
count.
The way to one up peppermint bark is to wrap it around a like wafer thin chocolate cookie.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Oh, I do have one regret of the week. I'd see the dog too. But again, not a regret that I would change. It's an unfortunate of the week. It's an unfortunate of the week that I'm really looking forward to the Pando Christmas dinner party thing on Thursday, which I'm flying back to San Francisco for, and it'll be a lot.
Anyone who thinks that that they weren't invited, it's only staff.
Also, they weren't invited. Yes. I regret, and it'll be my last time in San Francisco before Christmas, probably before the New Year. And so I regret the fact that it happens to fall on a week when I have writers in town and I have a lot of work stuff to do here. So I'm only going to be in town for a few hours. I would have liked to have spent a couple of days in San Francisco and caught up with people and done the whole Christmas thing. So I regret not coming to San Francisco, say, last week and doing that, because now I'm going to be very rushed and there's going to be people I don't get to see before Christmas. But, you know, startup, etc. And I'm glad I'm coming to the Pando dinner. So, that's all I got. It's been a good week.
You've had a pretty good week.
Yeah, stuff on Pando's been fantastic.
Yeah, we've had a good couple of days. You know, it's stressful because there's like a week coming at the end of the month that's just going to be a total dead week. So it's like you want to have as many good days as you can in the month, so that the whole month isn't written off because of the holidays. So I feel like I've been probably pushing myself and the team a little bit more than I ordinarily would, but the result is we've done some really, really great stuff.
Yeah, with all due respect to Christians, Jews, and those who those who celebrate Kwanzaa, I really hate holiday time when I've got shit to do. It just is. It's really annoying. It just gets in the fucking way, and I enjoy Christmas. I mean, I have a fucking dog with a Santa hat.
My family.
But,
it might be the
likewise.
Maternity hormones that are welling up inside me, but I've been really homesick for Memphis lately, and I'm really happy to go home. And also, a lot of my family hasn't seen Eli since last year, and he's a different baby day to day. So
yeah, he doesn't fit in the bear suit anymore.
Just raccoon suit now, though.
It's adorable. All right, let's wrap it up. You can go and celebrate the Yuletide with entrepreneurs.
All right.
And I'm getting a call from whatever that name of that blog. I tried to remember the name of earlier. That wants to talk to me about Uber and Travis.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let it go to voicemail for now.
I'll see you in Vegas on Friday.
You'll see me in San Francisco on Thursday.
Oh, right. Figure out if that awful person is doing Tech Week, so we should know if we should go or not.
They are.
Oh, because the email I got was not surprisingly non-committal.
I say they. Well, last time I heard from someone who is not one of the organizers, but somebody who is part of the community. I had a very eye-rolling conversation. They're eye-rolling about the fact that this person was coming. So I assume they still are.
All right. Well, I guess you and I have no plans on Friday night in Vegas.
We should go see a movie or something, or play Jenga.
Neither drink.
Huh? Yeah.
It's too bad neither of us drink.
Let's bring the peppermint bark cookies. We'll make a night of it.
There's only one left.
Bring half of one. All right.
All right.
Join us next week on Why Isn't This News?